We're talking the Venom Let There Be Carnage After Credit scene. A lot to go over. Let's do it.
That's right, Chris. What's up, everybody? We are the Jersey Comic Crew. Today we are talking about the after credit scene from the latest Venom movie, Venom Let There Be Carnage. Now, obviously, guys, this is a spoiler. We're going to talk about that end credit scene. So, the whole world is abuzz about this after credit scene. Venom in the MCU. What does this mean? How is it? A lot to unpack here, Chris, obviously.
Yeah.
I want to hear your takes before I give my take.
Sure. One, God, I wish that's how everyone got their hotel room upgraded, because that would be fantastic.
Right.
And to me, the biggest thing that kind of, took my attention was time period, because that clip is after Far From Home, which is a movie that came out a couple years ago, but we know what's going to happen from the trailer for No Way Home with Doctor Strange and kind of trying to turn back time and figure out what's going on and erase his knowledge. I think that's going to be the cause of it. As we've talked about in, ad nauseum now, the Loki timeline bursting is going to be partially to blame, possibly Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness. So yeah, this is definitely, obviously, some type of gateway. And I thought the interesting part of it was, hey, yeah, this is how you're seeing it from someone who's getting affected by it, not the cause, right? You're not seeing, it's either Loki, in space causing the timeline to burst, or Doctor Strange setting up the spell to, possibly mess everything up. You're seeing someone who is like, no, I'm being affected by this and being pulled into this universe somewhat.
So before I get into the fun theories of Venom in the MCU and like what that storyline is going to look like, I want to talk a little bit about the how, because at first when I watched this movie and I saw that scene with the commercial, I'm like, oh, that's why he's here, because of Doctor Strange and No Way Home, which it's not the case. I'm gonna blow your mind here. It's not because of the No Way Home stuff, because that commercial happened right after, maybe like, let's say an hour, maybe 2 hours after the end of the last Spider-Man movie where Mysterio dies, right? We know the effects or the events of No Way Home happened sometime after, where there's a couple of days, because you saw him go to school, right? You saw him hang out with MJ. So it's at least 2 days after, which means if Eddie Brock gets teleported or somehow into the MCU, it happens before the spell with Doctor Strange. So my hypothesis, that what I think is the actual reason that this happened, is because of the events in Loki. Now we know Loki, Sylvie killing Kang, pretty much guaranteed the multiverse happening, right? And multiverse of war, everything's going in. And you saw some of the clips of Loki when you get timelines passing through other timelines and stuff happening. So I think that's kind of what's happening now. Either the MCU is traveling throughout all these different timelines. That might be part of the explanation for the stuff you get with the Spider-Man movie. Also might be the explanation of why we see Venom in this, because they're going through that time stream. Or it's the Venom universe going through the MCU time stream. And I think that's a little bit more realistic, especially now, like, oh, you think there's time, that makes some sense. But of course, Marvel time-wimey thing, they can do anything, right? The other thing I think this does, now moving into like what's going to happen, I think this is just Eddie Brock Venom getting to play in the MCU and not staying here permanently. And I think that's because of the multiverse issue. They're going through it. Everything's going to collide on the 616, kind of like their own Secret Wars. And then afterwards, everybody's going to go back to the original thing. So Venom is going to go back into his regular Sonyverse, going to have another 2 or 3 movies. His logo is going to change. It's going to be a spider, because he's going to team up with Spider-Man and probably the other Spider-Man to take down all these Sinister Six people. That's what I'm thinking this is going to go. But I think the reasoning is Loki, not Spider-Man.
Interesting. I think it's Doctor Strange 100%. I think Loki is the beginning of all of it, right?
Okay.
It's the nexus point, like, which is a phrase we're hearing a lot more, to kind of everything that's cause and effect after, right? Before Loki, one timeline. After Loki, tendrils crisscrossing and going nuts.
Sure.
So I think Strange is definitely a point of this. I also think that's why the Spider-Man trailer was a little delayed and came out a little closer to when Venom was supposed to come out, even though Venom was kind of moved around a lot.
But him coming back, but Venom coming into the universe before Doctor Strange does a spell, you don't think is like the thing?
No, I think that's the nexus point that we're figuring out in No Way Home, right?
Okay.
The whole point of Peter going to Doctor Strange is to make sure that point with J. Jonah Jameson doesn't happen, right? His whole situation is everyone knows my identity. I need it to go back in the bottle that no one knows it so I can live a normal life and not worry about the people who know me being, talked to by the media and everyone else trying to get to them.
Okay.
And I think that point of J. Jonah Jameson at the end of the movie with, Mysterio blowing it up, that's the nexus point. So I think in No Way Home, you're going to see time travel. You're going to see them go back in time and have to deal with that. And I think that's what's breaking down this multiverse barrier. That's what's throwing Venom in.
I like that. And because they go through everything, they go through time, then he comes in, not necessarily before.
I don't think it's before. I think it's because of what Strange does. And if you notice, as the room changes, you see this kind of golden light that kind of is the similar color to like when Strange's bands kind of get messed up when Peter's messing up the spell. But also what you see in there is as everything's changing, it looked a lot like Wanda's chaos magic in WandaVision when she's changing the house to upgrade it through the decades. So that to me is another hint of definitely involving Doctor Strange. We know Wanda's in Multiverse of Madness, Doctor Strange 2. So that could be it too. I don't think this is going to be before that. I think that nexus point, which may be an absolute point, right? That may be one of the biggest problems of that movie, is what's causing not only Venom, but, Doc Ock, Norman Osborn. We know Matt Dillon Electro is going to be in that movie too. I think it's filling out that kind of quote unquote Sinister Six. And I think the biggest hint we have to either if Venom's going to be an ally to Spider-Man or a hindrance is that he used the phrase leap of protector like 15 times in this movie.
I do gotta admit they use that a little too much, which I get.
So like that to me, because in that story, if you guys aren't familiar, that's a story where he teams up with Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Lethal Protector. So that is to be how he would, possibly go on to Peter Parker for a minute as a symbiote, gain all the spider stuff where he can now web sling, get the spider logo, the Venom spider logo on his chest, and all that other cool stuff, and possibly be in that universe from now on, or be sent back by the time they fix everything.
And I definitely could see, because Venom wants to be a superhero, you see that by the end of Venom 2, right? And that's, in line somewhat with what's going on in the comics. And the way he's using his powers is very natural. You spring up from the floor as a base, you do this. But then when he's going to see Spider-Man, the first superhero that he's ever saw, he saw on TV, he's like, oh, what does this guy do? And he throws the webs and stuff like that. He wants to imitate him. I can see some funny banter going on, and that's how he evolves to becoming that Venom. I'm very excited. I can't wait to see what happens. So I'm going to be very excited to see what happens with Venom, playing with the Spider-Man, playing with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And guys, we want to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. What do you think is going to happen after watching the Venom Let There Be Carnage After Credit scene? Do you think they're going to be playing together? Do you think they're going to be enemies? Is he going to stay permanently in the MCU? We got to know.
So guys, thanks so much for watching. Give us a thumbs up, really helps the channel out a lot. If you're new, subscribe. Turn on those notifications. You don't want to miss any more videos we have. And if you've missed some videos, go check them out on the channel. They're all over the place here. And as always, I'm Chris Heller. That is Rob Moran. We are the Jersey Comic Crew, and we will see you next time.